My brothers tried to force me out of our father's farm. They forgot he trusted the quiet child most. When my brothers arrived with a surveyor, a locksmith, and a truck full of confidence, they expected me to cry. That was their first misunderstanding. Their second was worse. They assumed the quiet sister had not been paying attention. I was standing in the east field when I saw the dust trail rising from the gravel road. It was late September, the kind of afternoon where the sky goes pale and high and the wind smells faintly of dry corn and metal. I had one boot on the fence rail and a notebook in my hand, checking irrigation figures when Caleb's black pickup appeared first, then Ryan's silver SUV behind it. The surveyor's vehicle came last. That detail mattered, because if they had only come with anger, this would have been family drama. But they came with paperwork, which meant planning. Our father had been dead for 8 weeks. 8. And already my brothers had moved from grief into strategy. I walked back toward the yard slowly, not because I was afraid, but because I have learned that people reveal more when you don't rush to meet them. Caleb got out first. Big voice, big jaw, big appetite for declaring himself the natural authority in any room larger than a closet. Ryan came next, tidier, better dressed, always the one who made unreasonable things sound temporary and administrative. If Caleb was force, Ryan was polish. The surveyor kept his eyes down. "Smart man. Mara," Caleb called, as if we were beginning something ordinary. "Good. You're here. I live here," I said. Ryan gave a thin smile. "That's sort of what we need to discuss." Of course it was. If you have siblings, you already know there are certain family tones that can transport you instantly back into childhood. Ryan's was one of them. The reasonable voice. The let's all be adults voice. The voice that always appeared right before he suggested something that benefited him at your expense. I crossed my arms and waited. Caleb pointed toward the north barn. "We've decided to move forward with partition." He ignored the question. "This place is too much land to keep tangled. We'll divide, sell what's inefficient, and move clean." I looked at Ryan. "And you brought a surveyor because?" He answered smoothly. "To save time." Time, that was rich. Coming from 2 men who had not spent a single dawn on this farm in 15 years. I should explain something here. My father had 3 children. Caleb, the eldest. Ryan, the clever one. And me, the daughter no one expected to stay. But I did stay. I came back after my divorce 12 years ago with 1 suitcase, 1 bruised sense of self, and a 7-year-old son who needed air that didn't smell like courtrooms. My brothers visited on holidays. I rebuilt fence lines. They sent texts from airport lounges. I learned the machinery schedule. They argued about future land values over Christmas ham. I drove Dad to every cardiology appointment for 6 years. They called him on speakerphone while muted in traffic. So, when he died, they mourned a symbol. I mourned a person. There is a difference, and land knows it. Caleb took a folded document from his jacket pocket and handed it to me like he was granting a permit. We had a lawyer review the estate. I unfolded it. A partition notice draft. Not filed yet, but prepared. My eyes moved once across the page, then twice, and then I looked up. "Did your lawyer happen to review the updated operating agreement for the farm?" Ryan's face altered so slightly most people would have missed it. I did not miss it, because I had seen that expression before on men realizing they might not understand the game board as well as they thought. Caleb scoffed. "There is no operating agreement." There wasn't in the will." "No," I said. "Because it's not in the will." Silence. The wind moved through the cottonwoods behind the machine shed with that dry, whispering sound I have always loved. The surveyor shifted his weight. Good. Let them feel it. If you've ever watched arrogant people realize they walked into the wrong situation. Comment 1. Some of life's greatest music is made without instruments. The operating agreement had been signed 14 months before my father died, not because he distrusted his sons, because he understood them. There's a distinction there, too. He had called me into the office after supper one February night. The books were open. The old green lamp was on. Snow made the windows reflective. "I need this done right," he said. "Then tell me." He pushed the papers across the desk. The farm, at least the working entity. Equipment. Water rights. Livestock operations. And lease income had been placed into a family agricultural LLC with controlling management assigned not by birth order, not by gender, and not by equal sentiment, but by active stewardship. Me, not sole ownership, but sole control. My father had divided eventual equity among the three of us. But while he was gone and the farm remained operational, no partition, sale, encumbrance, or asset liquidation could occur without manager approval. Mine, I had asked him then. Why didn't you tell them? And Dad, who could still silence a room with one look even at 76, said the truest thing I ever heard him say about my brothers. Because men who think inheritance means competence should learn the difference the hard way. I went inside the house with Caleb and Ryan behind me. At the kitchen table, I laid out the operating agreement, the recorded state filing, the manager designation, and the attorney letter confirming the restrictions. Ryan read first. Caleb watched his face. That told me everything Ryan had not known, or not fully, which meant Caleb had dragged him into this with the confidence of the uninformed. A family tradition. This can be challenged, Caleb said. Ryan didn't echo him. Interesting. It can be discussed, I said. Challenged is another word. You think Dad wanted you to control everything? No. I think Dad wanted the farm controlled by the child who understood it. Caleb put both hands on the table and leaned in. I understand land. You understand property, I said. Not the same thing. That hit exactly where intended. Ryan stepped in before Caleb could escalate. No one is trying to disrespect what you've done here. I actually smiled. There it is again, I said. The voice. Ivitstaya. What voice? The one you use when you're trying to move money through a moral argument. He stared at me. I kept going. You two don't want management clarity. You want liquidity. Caleb's cattle investment is bleeding, and your development deal in Wichita stalled. Should I continue, or would you like to pretend harder? That landed harder than I expected, because it was true. And truth, when it arrives with dates and bank records, has weight. Yes, I knew about Caleb's debt. Farmers always know more than they say. Rural life teaches you that secrets don't disappear. They circulate. I knew about Ryan, too. The commercial opportunity he'd been dangling for months was a half-funded project dependent on quick capital. Our father's death had not made them sentimental. It had made them opportunistic. And the farm, to them, looked like a solution. But to me, it looked like my son learning to drive the tractor at 16. It looked like my father eating peach pie at midnight in a cracked bowl because he said plates were too formal after dark. It looked like labor so consistent, it became love. You don't liquidate that because your timing is poor. The next week, they escalated. Of course they did. Caleb started telling people in town that I was holding the estate hostage. Ryan called a mediation attorney. My Aunt Louise, who hasn't read a document carefully since 1983, left me a voicemail suggesting I not let emotions cloud fairness. Emotions. I always enjoy that word from people whose greed has dressed itself as logistics. Then came the real move. A buyer. A developer from 3 counties over made an unsolicited offer on the South Acreage. The piece nearest the highway. Good frontage. Easy access. Perfect for the storage facility Ryan had surely been whispering about to men in pressed button-downs and expensive optimism. Only one problem, The south acreage carried the deepest well access and the best winter shelter corridor for cattle. Selling it would wound the whole operation, which is why they wanted it sold first. I called Dad's attorney, Mrs. Herrera, a woman with silver hair and the calm of someone who has seen families destroy themselves over lesser things. Can they force mediation? I asked. They can request it. Can they force sale? Endeavor? Not while the operating agreement stands and the business remains active. Good. She paused. Mara, would you like my honest advice? Always. Win quickly. That's good advice in law and in weather. So I did. I scheduled a formal review meeting at the farm. Required attendance. Attorney present. Accounting open. Operational forecast prepared. Let them meet the thing they were trying to dismantle. They arrived in nicer clothes than the occasion deserved. Ryan brought a legal pad. Caleb brought irritation. I brought yield figures, lease contracts, veterinary records, payroll schedules, and 3 years of capital improvement logs. Mrs. Herrera opened the meeting by stating one fact. The farm was profitable, not glamorous. Not easy, but profitable. Then she stated the second. Any forced sale would materially reduce long-term shared equity. Ryan objected on principle. Caleb objected on volume. I let them. Then I put the final document on the table. A succession offer, prepared by me. If they wanted clean value, I would buy them out over time through structured payouts funded by operations, insurance reserves, and a conservation easement offer already in preliminary approval. Their faces. That is all I will say at first, because some sites deserve pacing. Ryan read the conservation proposal twice. Caleb didn't understand it until page 4. Then he did. And he stood. You planned this? And the Vetti. Since when? Since before Dad died. That part wasn't exactly true. I had begun the paperwork while he was still alive, but the full strategy formed after the funeral, when I saw how both my brothers looked at the land during the reception, not with grief, with appetite. If you're still reading, comment 1. Quiet people survive by preparing before loud people even realize there's a contest. The buyout wasn't immediate. It wasn't dramatic. It was patient, legal, and deeply unpleasant for men who prefer dominance to documentation. Ryan took the offer first, because he understood risk. Caleb fought another month, then signed when his lender grew less philosophical. And just like that, the brothers who arrived with a surveyor left with installment plans. My son still runs the East Field now. He's 24 and better with cattle than all of us. The cottonwoods still whisper. The house still settles at night in the same old bones and wind language it always has. And every now and then, I think about that September afternoon. 3 trucks in the drive, dust in the air, men approaching as if the farm were already halfway sold. They were wrong, because my father had trusted the quiet child most, and he had been right.